Hi, it's Nathan from Serious Geeks, and this video is about the Lookout Serve rule previewed on the Warhammer community website. As you can see on the screen now, the rule is more or less the same, except it's had a crucial change to the dynamic between friendly units and the characters themselves. During 8th edition, a character had to be the closest enemy unit to an opposing enemy unit to be targeted via shooting. This led to all sorts of fairly absurd situations where you would have a character on 4 wounds perhaps that was in the open on its own, but across the other side of the board there was a Space Marine scout that was slightly closer to the shooting units than what the character was, and therefore it completely prevented any shots being fired at said character. The new change, crucially, is that a character has to be within 3 inches of either a monster or vehicle or a unit that consists of 3 models or more. In practical terms, this means you cannot basically throw units slightly closer to the enemy on a different side of the board and expect them to protect a model that is literally about 20 inches away. It makes perfect sense, it's consistent and it's thematic, so I totally approve of this rules change. I think it's amazing. What it'll do to games of 40k is actually destroy castling. Castling is where you have a load of units all surrounded in characters. The characters can't be shot because of the character lookout serve rules, and they get the benefits from those characters' auras to all those units, and they just sit there shooting at the opponents. This is another way to prevent that. We have obscuring terrain, assault units being slightly less vulnerable to Overwatch, and outflanking units as well, which we've been told about previously. So these things will enable a more dynamic move around the table. If you want to get to the objectives and fire at the enemy, you're going to have to move. The 3 inches is actually deceiving. People think that, well, if you have to be 3 inches within units, that'll just bring units tighter together. Well, that's not actually the case. Because as I mentioned, if you want to get about the table and score victory points and get shots in on the opponent, you're going to have to spread out, you're going to have to move. And that's not very easy to do when you've got a fairly slow moving character in the middle of a whole load of other units. You're going to have to conga line all of them slowly to the left or slowly to the right. And you're not going to be able to get many fire lines like that, especially with decent terrain, which is what most tables should have. I mean, that's a different issue, whether tournaments have decent terrain on their boards or not. But going forward, I think they will start to have that as a matter of course. But in the meantime, the rest of us get the benefit of actually having models on the table that will have to move around and can't just gather around 1 or 2 characters, protecting them from all attacks apart from sniper weapons. Another interesting dynamic with this rule change is that units have to be 3 or more in strength. This means you can't have a remnant squad of say 1 or 2 models, or say a Tau commander with a couple of drones from a vehicle that's been detached next to the model and not be able to be shot. I mean, that is so absurd anyway. I mean, the fact that you can't target a model just because one model next to him who's the same size is pretty silly. But when you have a big distraction such as a vehicle or a large unit, it does make sense, the fog of war and all that. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, good rules change, and I look forward to playing a more dynamic game of 40k without castling all the time. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, tell your friends, and I will catch you all soon. Peace out.